I'm live, guys. I'm live. How is everybody? This is Jacques Gaines from Jacques Gaines Photography. I hope you can all hear me. For the hell of it, here I am, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Today I'm here to talk to you about the X-T3 from Fujifilm. I've had it for about a week and I've been using it. And I used it on a gig that was particularly dark. And so I thought it might be a good idea to talk to you guys about a couple of things I have done with this camera since I've not really owned it because Fuji lent it to me. I'm going to look at some pros and cons of the camera so far. And that's it. Now today, the big things I'm going to do, I'm going to look at some of the JPEGs. The reason I can only look at the JPEGs is that the RAW, right now Lightroom and Photoshop do not have the codec for the RAW for the X-T3, so therefore I will not be able to look at the RAW images, but I was really impressed by the JPEG, so I will be talking about that. I'm also going to be showing you some footage of some autofocus tracking that I did in autofocus continuous. So for all those videographers out there, you might be interested in finding out about that. And of course, we're going to go through the menu and look at, I'm going to make sure that my camera nav and menu is there. Yes, we're going to be looking at the menu system and sort of some of the codecs that are offered for videographers out there. You guys are going to be happy. This is definitely a video camera. Now remember, the things I want to tell you before I start is remember that Jacques Gaines Photography is all about getting the shot, but also about the journey getting there. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe. What is happening here? Yes.
Hey YouTubers, let me tell you about Jacques Gaines Photography. JGP is about getting the shot and the journey getting there. Not only as a photographer, but in life in general. Unlike most photographers.
And stay tuned, make sure you guys check out, this video is already out there. It's the Fujifilm X-T2 or the X-T3. Which one should you buy? That one's doing really well I got 20,000 views on that baby. Woohoo! I love that. But it's really cool because I sort of talk about the specs, but I do have the camera in my hand. So do not worry, people. It is worth checking out anyway. But without further ado, people are telling me that I'm wasting too many people's time. But I will answer questions as well as to how my experiences were with the camera. But you guys, I just want to tell you, if anyone just tuned in, that will be done at the end, but I will be answering questions as to how it is using this camera so far. So I think the best thing to do is for me, I'm going to talk to you guys about the JPEGs in this thing. So far I was really impressed, and I got to show you guys, I did a gig recently and it was a very, how can I say, extremely dark gig. It was a client I had to photograph a sort of yoga. It was Tibetan bowls. It's like a musician that plays Tibetan bowls. And therefore it was really dark. It's a very Zen type of thing that people do. So I went to shoot this and I knew I was going to shoot with really high ISO, and I knew that would be the case. Now, with my X-T2, I used it most of the time, but I did take the time to actually shoot with the X-T3 and use it at high ISO to show you what sort of image quality you're going to get. Now, I am sorry, I do not have those RAWs. As I said before, I do not have the codec yet for the RAWs on the X-T3. But let's look at some images really quick. I got some close-up shots of the Tibetan bowls. As you can see right here, you guys are looking at one of the first shots. Let me just look at now if you come over here and look at the metadata here, you're going to see I'm using the Fuji F2 35mm, which is, by the way, just a fantastic lens. I am at 1/60th of a second, f3.2 because I need a bit of depth of field, but check my ISO out. It's 3200, okay guys? 3200. Now let's look at this shot. Look at the sharpness here, guys. I am telling you, it is pretty darn nice. And the lack of noise is pretty darn impressive. Now this is JPEG. Obviously you could probably work a lot more if you were using RAW. This is a close-up of one of the Tibetan bowls I got. And it is pretty darn good. I am pretty darn impressed by that shot. Now, what I'm going to do after, I'm going to maybe push process some of these things. Someone here is saying that you can process RAW in Capture One for free. Oh yeah, Thanks for telling me that, Cyril. Thank you for telling me that. Here we go. Here's another shot of some Tibetan bowls. Now, what I'm also amazed with the JPEGs, and this is in general, and it has nothing to do with Fuji, the X-T3 or the other cameras, but here is the thing I am amazed at in general, is that the JPEGs are not only nice looking, but they're also great. They got like dynamic range in them. You can adjust them and play with them and push your processing a bit on the JPEGs in the actual X-T3. Now, I think I got an image here. Here are some darker images of the guy playing with the bowl. Cool. Let me go back to this one. Now, what I'm going to do with this bowl here, just for the hell of it, is open it up. Okay. I'll open it up in Photoshop. Okay, that's already been done. Sorry about that, guys. Got to shut this down. I wanted to push process this thing and see what would happen. Give me a second here. Okay, none of these I can't. I think this one I'll be okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Sorry about that, everybody. So anyways, let me go into one of these shots. If I take brightness and contrast out, no. Come on, guy, come on. There you go. I'm live. This is typical live. Okay, so let's reopen this. I want to open it again. So I'm opening this in Photoshop, and I just want to show you what happens when I push it a tiny bit, and you guys can see what will happen to the actual image when I actually brighten it up. So I'm stuck with this dark image, and normally when you process in RAW, you can do something great with your RAW image, and it's kind of cool when you're working in RAW. But here in the JPEG, here I have the background right here. I'm just going to add an adjustment layer of brightness and contrast. I just want to show you guys what happens when I push this. Now look at this. Look at that. First of all, the colors are just unbelievable, you know. So I don't know if you guys are catching that, if you can see it very well, but I have just pushed this, and if I zoom into the shot, you can see that there's not a lot of noise or graininess happening. And from the highlights to the shadows, everything is being pretty well preserved. Here's without, here's with, without, with. So I just wanted to mention that. That was the first thing I wanted to mention, that the quality of the JPEGs in this, the X-T3, are really, really nice. You're going to really like what you get with this thing. And I am surprised at the capacity and the forgiveness of this camera when it comes to actually high ISO. It's still giving you a sharp image. Now, next thing I want to talk about is the, let me talk a bit about autofocus. Look at autofocus a bit. Now, I think in every videographer's world, what you want to get is you want to get autofocus continuous that is decent. Anyone who's filmed an interview and the person moves around a bit and you want to do that low depth of field, you need a continuous autofocus that kicks ass. And I think from what I've seen so far on this camera that we got it. I filmed a couple of things in 4K and it was kind of cool. I did some focus tracking, and that's what I just want to show you now, a bit of focus tracking. The shot you're looking at now is what I did is I took the focus point and I focused it on the, here, let me just try this again here. I got to go do something in here. Stream only once forever. So the focusing I did here is I took the focus point, I brought it to the lower left side of the frame. Now watch what happens on the lower left side. You can see the actual camera tracking. Now, every time it's going to get that lower left side in focus as much as possible. See, so when you look at the memory cards, you can see I'm trying to keep it focused in on the memory cards. So it's picking it up pretty quick. You see that? Now there is a bit of hunting, but it's not that long. And that I'm also surprised with. I'm really happy with the fact that it doesn't hunt that much. And I find that pretty darn cool. Now another thing I did also check was on the slow motion tracking was, on tracking was I did some in slow-mo. I did 4K slow-mo, 120 frames per second. I wanted to see, when you do that, you need great tracking because time is actually stretched. So here's a shot I took of my dog, Milo, and it's just a shot of him. Let me put that on forever. There you go. Okay, is he gonna pop out at one point? Let's see. Where's the dog? Where's the dog? Love it. He's coming out, guys. He's coming out. That's another thing with slow motion is that it just takes forever, right? There you go. There's the dog. Now, as you can see, I'm using the 18 to 55 here, and it's tracking really nice. What I liked about this shot too is that, see, it's tracking even when it comes in very, very close. Now, what I like about this shot, to show you guys what I really like about it, is that it gives you the chance to see not only the fact that it's tracking in slow motion really well, but also the quality of the slow motion. You got higher bit rates in the X-T3 for your 120 frames per second. The firmware on the X-T2 will give you 120 frames per second, but this camera does offer you higher bit rates. So that's all I wanted to tell you guys about the autofocusing on it so far. That was just it. I just wanted to show you that. The autofocus there, a bit of the focus tracking here with the camera where I'm putting the focus point on the lower left side of the frame. As you can see, it hunts a tiny bit, but not a lot. Now let's go into the menus, guys, the camera navigation. The reason why I want to talk about navigation, high was stabilizer off. Somebody's asking whether in that slow-mo stabilizer was off. No, it was on. And that is probably one of the big downfalls right now. One of the cons of the X-T3 is they didn't put in-camera stabilization on the camera. But I was using the 1855 with stabilizer on. Therefore, let me show it to you again just so you can get an idea. It's doing the best it can. Now, when you're dealing with Fuji lenses on stabilizer, they are very good, but I mean, it's not dolly worthy. I do not think it's GH5 quality, but remember, this is really handheld, people. I'm really holding this in my hand. I'm just holding it. I got the angled up, and when you're doing slow-mo, it can happen pretty fast. So the stabilizer, so you got to make do with the stabilizer on your lens. Unfortunately, with the X-T3, you do not have in-camera stabilization. To me, that is probably the biggest disappointment on this camera so far, is the fact that you do not have the in-camera sensor stabilization. And it's too bad for that, but again, the images are nice, the quality is fantastic and great. Now, I just want to go over a couple of options, guys, so you can see in the menu what you can get in terms of quality of recording. Two things I wanted to talk about here. First of all, your movie mode. Now, this menu, I love the hell out of it, guys, a lot. I don't know why, but I'm just a big fan of it. Now, what they've done is they've looked at your workflow and they said, well, what's the first thing you want to look for? And they really came out with the 3 definite things that you look for when you're looking for your video codec. Then you look at your frame rate, and then you look at the bit depth at which you want to record. So they came up with a great new menu. I mean, I'm making a big deal about this, but I really think it is great. So let's say you want FHD, okay, or DCI, you want cinema. 17.9, you go right over to DCI 17.9. You can go DCI 4K or whatever you want here. Give me a second. 4K, FHD, sorry, DCI 17.9. Once you've done that, you move your cursor over. You can choose your frame rate of your DCI 4H, DCI 17.9. Then after that, you can go into the next menu, which will give you your bit rates of each one. I just love that. I know I sound stupid and it sounds like a weird thing for me to be into, but I just think it's great. You know, like for example, if I go FHD 16.9, I'm talking about 1080p. I go to 24p. I have all my frame rates here, 60p, all the different frame rates, and I can go here and get my different bit depth. I think that is a really, really cool thing. For all you other videographers, other points that are really cool, we got H.265 HEVC, which is to me a fantastic codec. I will be showing some the quality of the images out of H.265. It is really, really quite amazing. And look at the bottom, guys. You have a choice of output of 420 10-bit or 422 10-bit, which is really, really, really cool. Other things you can get into, let me see, I just want to make sure. Okay. Other modes of compression, you have H.264 as well. You can always go to H.264. I think if you're a blogger or a vlogger, that might be a good thing because you just save a lot of space. Because once you do go to H.265 and you go all I, you start to get some really, really heavy duty compression going on. But let's say we go into here. Now, once we go into H.265, we also get the option of using all I compression or long GOP. I would go all intro. Guys, I'm telling you, it is really, really some damn sharp stuff. That coupled with the Fuji lenses, to me, for just those two reasons, the fact that I think Fuji right now is matching the video quality of Sony, but they just got a lot of great glass behind that bottleneck, which is the glass, is really good. So the glass is sending a super nice image to the sensor and the processor that's there. Full HD high-speed record. Just wanted to show you guys all the options. Look at them. They're great. It's fantastic. 23.98p, 24p at 120, and obviously if you're in Europe, 25p, 100p. You can get all these different frame rates. It's really, really cool. That's about it. Now remember, there's the film simulations. They've added a couple, I believe. I use ProNeg all the time. I just love it. I just love it. You can see from the bowls that I just showed you before, I also use it for my images. That's about it for now, guys. It's really the only thing I wanted to talk about so far was my impressions and go through the menu and show you what was going on there. In terms of autofocus, unfortunately, guys, I cannot tell you much about autofocus and the speed thereof. I know it's very fast, but for most of the things I do, the difference between the X-T2 and the X-T3 are not that different, but they are on paper. I know that if you're a sport photographer or something like that, you might notice the difference right away. So that is about it, guys. I will answer questions right now. I'm at 17 minutes already. It goes pretty darn quick. So let me just look at what you guys have to say. Somebody asked about the stabilizer. I answered that. How can you test rack focus with touch screen? Hi, can you test rack focus with touch screen? You know what? I have not done that. You want me to do that now? Let me do it now. See if I can do that. Okay, let me get something. I'll have to open this up. Okay, guys, I've never done this before. This is like a live test. Okay, let me just give you tons of ISO here. I'll give you an f2 there. Now, unfortunately, I have not. There. Okay, so you guys want to see rack focus with touch screen. This is fun. I've never done this. Like an actual, this is an actual special request from someone out there. So let me try, see the, if I don't know if you guys can see, but at the end of my desk is this red sort of rack that's for my DJI. So let's just test this out. I might get, there we go, so we get a bit of a better. So now I'm putting my finger on the Canon lens. Okay, sorry about that, guys. The Canon. There it goes. That's so funny. Did you just see that, guys? Did you see how that's like fast? It's not gradual. There might be something I do not know, and I want to give Fuji a fair chance. So let me just show you that. Now I'm on here's the X-T2 right here. Let me say I focus in on the X-T2. Let me focus in on the thing in the back. Let me push that. Ah! There. Did you see that? As soon as I pressed my guitar tuner, the Canon lens, the Fuji right here. Oh, sorry about that. Let me get some of this stuff off there. Sorry about that, guys. So, listen, I don't want to give a fair shake. I want to give a fair shake to the camera. I just showed you how I was rack focusing with it, but obviously I was just pointing, and right now there's something about the gradualness of the rack that doesn't make much sense. It just goes really, really quick. We all want it to go nice and smooth. So I'm sorry about that. I hope that answers your question. What else? How can you test rack focus? 60 frames per second at 4K is absolutely stunning. It is crazy, guys. Now, I have not taken that and conformed that to a 24p timeline, so I cannot tell you how that is when you actually use it in slow-mo, but the 4K 60p, the frames per second, if you just actually look at the raw footage, I can try now. I'm going to try now to get you guys some raw footage on that. Let me just go see if I can get that. Devices, media, images. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, I got some 4K here. Let's see if I can get that out. It's 4K. It might choke my whole software. So if I lose you guys, you tell me, okay? Okay. It's on the line. Yeah, that is killing my computer right now. But what I can tell you right now, guys, is that it is actually really, really good. There's no doubt about it. It's like, you got to take my word for it on this. I can maybe give you some proof later on and do some, maybe a video with some sample footage, but the 60 frames per second 4K is really, really nice from what I've seen. Now, John asks, can you adjust the speed of the rack, of the rack focus? That is what I'm going to check out. I will be checking that out. As for battery life, Chill Music asks about battery life. Well, honestly, that's another bad thing. You know, that's definitely a con of the camera. So the first con is no sensor stabilization, and battery life is basically the same. It might have improved a tiny bit, but it is just not there. The Fuji batteries don't last that long. You probably will need to get a battery grip with this, with my X-T3. If I want to use it a full day, I have a battery grip. That's it, guys, for today. I really enjoyed having you. Thanks, you guys, for coming.